Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This is a series that consists of spewing out assorted thoughts which arose from somebody who thinks too much, taking in, and generally loving various entertainment media by the boatload. These tidbits may be little theories, observations, or simply jokes. Please bear in mind that all these ideas come from the perspective of somebody who's experienced every main story bit connected with whatever is currently being gone over. So spoilers will be here. However, other works set in a shared continuity will typically solely be referenced in a way that only makes sense to anybody who's also fully experienced those ones up until their same time occurring points. Sort of a coded nod kind of deal. Now, with all of that out of the way, here we go. Slightly shifted, successive segment show steel struggle suppliers, such as these penguin dudes that just look like kinda tinier variants of ones featured in Mega Man 3, would simply be the result of a frugal Dr. Wily recycling things. Reused robots like this get equipped with things such as new flight abilities because Dr. Light's nemesis wants the blue bomber to get all caught off guard and whatnot. These paramedics, of course, normally perform tasks centered around providing repairs and first aid respectively, depending on whether they were dealing with mercilessly mangled machinery or highly hampered humans. A charged buster bringing bodily blinking might be a warning system Dr. Light installed so enemies could surrender before his beloved mechanical son had to invoke violent measures. Plus, if he ever stopped flashing, then that would be a pretty good indicator of really required repairs. Vaulting vehicular vermin very well could be for devouring junk that's clogging up sewers, like crappy cloth that won't break down in the water. Roof ricocheting bubble bots before battle benefits being related to odor absorption and air contaminant collection seems pretty probable. All these sewage sorting scenery stations supremely solid Serenity Smashers sport sort of strange schematics, such as a general theme of grossness because the folks who normally run this place really want to ward off unwanted visitors. These piranha shark deals would serve the purpose of gobbling garbage of the not breaking down tossed out food variety. Toadman always hops away after getting struck by bullets because he's developed a conditioned reflex to flee from flying funkiness because his normal job involved far too many encounters with mysterious messes seemingly showing up out of nowhere. The amazing amphibious android agonizing over being blasted by bomb bits is a result of his fleet-footed fighting form not working out so well whenever showroom-shaking shenanigans come into play. The floor-found firework flingers and their perception-pilfering pals probably provide sky spectacles during darkness-deprived days whenever they are not modified into death-delivering devices. Tech Totem's typical task would likely involve a double role of native-owned land marking and security service supplying. Gear-gutted grasshoppers giving allies rides over live wire-laden landscapes with very carefully carried-out hops that can somehow avoid electrical arcs is quite fun to imagine. Bulky ball-brought bot bus blasters being long-distance vending machines or spherical spares seem sort of sufficient in the idea department. These robotic ears of corn most likely normally provide peculiar protection for crops that are regularly threatened by both feral pests and superbly clever brigands. Climbing curve-caught Christmas-colored contraptions could commonly cause charges creatively in situations struggling with backup generator-demanding power outage-related things. The color-coding concept came about because employees needed to know whether they were assigned to restarting interior or exterior located, liveliness-lacking Luddite-loathed lumps. Brightman's water wailing rod wrecking would be the result of his defensive capabilities getting drained, so more light can get produced after that brief moment where an artificial cloud darkened things a tad. Steely scorpions slaughtering their creature counterparts could very well be what goes on with them whenever they're not utilized by blissfulness-bothered bot barons. These blasting bullets below mosquito machines might manage mayhem of the tomb treasure-taking variety. They would have the easiest time pursuing pilfering people at every place both in and outside this plated processor pile pack pyramid. The balloon bunk could have originally been designed to slowly lift folks out of this quicksand with a lifeline rope kinda deal. Spike surfing, side shooting moving, shaky self-slaughterers seem suited for floor buffering during more peaceful times. They explode when encountered in-game because Wily didn't give them a new power source for handling tasks more energy-demanding than tile shining. Mummified machines might have been utilized to study what happens to formerly alive whatnot that gets preserved in such manners. They'd of course be coated with cloned organic material or whatever on at least a surface level, so this experimentation could work out all swimmingly. Fake Pharaoh's fail-safe form, mean a susceptibility to maneuverability muting machinery, might have something to do with his creator finding much amusement in the idea of him getting preserved forever or whatever, like those more fleshy versions. This whole place's deal is likely something along the lines of a research center focused upon developing ways to explore those crazy gas giants. These bright or bumpy, briefly built bridges would of course have served as platforms for the android astronauts to stand when studying stuff where there's no weight-supporting matter present. Their differently shaded modes would be for the purpose of accounting for wind resistance or what have you. These small, Saturn-shaped, swirling steel slabs serving as both mascots and cameras is a rather delightful notion. More massive mechanical miscellany, such as these hard hippos, would have been developed for gravity assessing purposes. Sliding saws served society by cutting content contained within life-lethal locations like space station sides or devilish depth-drenched data deciphering devices. Ring-wrapped retina-relishing robots research what kind of vision levels are available to cameras and life forms surrounded by stupendously sized circular slabs. Round rolling rigs really seem like they are prototypes for natural counterpart mimicking artificial satellites. Circular supervisors struggle with power orbs, might involve the forces that form said structures shaking apart his ridiculously round regions. Soaring shield standard situations should be something along the lines of angry automaton aimed, crowd control. Pit-propelled pests probably perform purification duties of the air-focused variety before getting converted into insanity-inducing inconveniences. Compacting contraptions shrunk since the first Mega Man game because folks discovered how to build bottom plates that were much denser and powerful or whatever. These propulsion-providing piece-purging part piles' purpose could have been something involving free-fall foiling for fabricated folks far too heavy to get slowed down by things like parachutes. This trolling Met has a rare programming error that forced him to abandon his compatriots and practice assorted jigs. Rings just clog up the guy's dust chute. It's not that exciting. This bony boss bot's entire purpose may involve touring schools and whatnot for the sake of teaching organic youngsters about their calcium-craving anatomical hoopla. His surveyed area would be a theme park constructed around him after he became oddly popular for something that apparently only exists to perform curriculum padding assemblies. Bouncy ball blasters being used for firecracker fun is likely a thing. Soaring, swirly spiked studs might have been utilized in some sort of virus-originating bone disease warning stage show. The not-in-charge skeletal bots would of course just be staff that attended to concession stands and whatnot. Caterpillar contraptions could have been used to explain how some creatures aren't structured so similarly to humans in the flesh frame department. These rear Cyclops technological abominations were likely just from a defective batch of normal skull mechanical models that Wily stole from a certain recycling plant he recently took over. Sir Supreme Skeleton suffers when unsanitary things come into contact with him because his cover story's job requirements included a deep understanding of what organic things must endure, so he could teach those youngsters better than any other robot in history. The skull barrier is supposed to represent a healthy immune system. These armored Metroid mimicking machines might be for testing contamination levels in particularly pressure-plagued, perilous puddle parks. These whalebots would have been developed to protect their biological counterparts from getting hunted excessively. Ray Rig's real reason for being built might involve collecting DNA samples from their living inspirations in order to help cloning-related stuff happen so the population can recover and whatnot. The wire could very well simply be a fishing tool somebody dropped. This would have happened several times, of course, hence why the thing can get grabbed over over and over again. Maybe Diveman's skull stuff struggling stems from his targeting system not doing so well against things shaped like human anatomy originating junk. The constant calculation confusion would be so great that it drains his shielding devoted power reserves. The security supplying shooter shells might be meant for protecting against both invader-stemming firepower and weather damage. Tumbling twirly turrets' typical task might be something involving emergency flare providing. Drillman's missile mishaps might arise from his bit-banked bomb bunk blowing up prematurely when assaulted with another explosive. Rush product development is only finished after specific levels get completed because it's based off of data procured from Mega Man's travels in said locales. This place is most likely just a regular Russian castle that Kozak was gifted to perform his robotics research in. Cyber Slinkies serve society by providing children with entertainment. Mikhail was working on such things because he really enjoys finding new ways to bring his beloved daughter Kalinka joy. Mothraya's misery upon getting ring rattled could have something to do with it getting thrown off guard by all that shiny light reflecting off the things. The small skull sentinels might have been little gift shop intended toy prototypes ransacked from Bone Boss's base because Wily liked the theme they had going on. Spike side shifting small stage segments standard service could be as some kind of futuristic bear trap. Rush won't land correctly here because there's some teleportation interfering crap lacing the walls or whatever. The square machine meets an easy end upon getting dusted because it's a prototype giant motherboard and thus faces extreme overheating issues when soiled like that. The auto-scrolling present here is likely representative of Mega Man being really worried about an incoming snowstorm. Sparky floor ninja stars are probably just a themed version of those earlier mentioned sliding slicers that were meant to be used at Shadow Man's facility. Gloriously golden gap-cutting gears grab gobs of particularly heavy pieces of hail and blow them apart in places high enough that fragments would land on the Citadel's roof. This tricky-to-reach E-tank is something a med stashed in its secretly built break room. The whatever energy which formed Pharaoh shots supplies these cockroach twins with so much power that a leg-busting overload happens upon contact. This secluded secret section seems to be a high clearance demanding area that's meant for extremely important R&D stuff, like working on toys that a scapegoat status straddled society's favorite scientist's daughter would be amused by. Kozak's catcher can't quite completely cork up Dustman's death deliverer because nobody could possibly comprehend what all is in that bunk ball enough to build a glass barrier with perfectly potent pesky particle penetration preventing potential. This castle was one Wily made Kozak take over during that forced henchman junk. He would have coerced his unwilling ally into keeping the public away with threats until his whole signature theme could get installed. This place features a lot of mets, including a giant one, because the construction only got finished very recently. Fading footholds feature fairly favorable formations this time around because they were all altered from safe wall construction providing rider teleportation mode into a death trap one by incredibly rushed minions. Metal Daddy's dangerous situation involving dust and rings is the result of him having somewhat lower defenses because he's getting all worried about being scolded by his employers or leaving behind a messy work area. The portable helper Eddie would have been built after Mega Man's third adventure because that's how many battles it took for Dr. Light to stop believing there would be peace anytime soon. Taco Trash totes temperature tech to heat up fellow robots that get too cold in the wintry water it normally helps clean up. Those balls would be for distracting the natural octopus. Despite having a much bigger garbage chute than Duskman, rings still clog the thing up because it gets smaller near its end. Wily Machine 4's first fight fragment failing against hardened hoops has something to do with them jamming up the tech, forming those energy fireballs. The smoke from drill bombs make it so hard for Wily to see that he inflicts self-originating damage with poorly aimed weaponry. Wily capsules crumbling against the Pharaoh shot might have something to do with its power frequency interrupting his own mysterious energy weapon's constitutions. Rings rock his world because their sharp sides slice up that glass so much that it gives him a frustration-induced migraine. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.